Hello from a very warm Cyprus. It's a great privilege and joy to be involved with you in this special anniversary meeting in Castle Street. It was really in 1976 that I first got to know the church as a result of courting my wife, then Lynn Harris, who was a member of Castle Street, and then we were married. But about 2 years later, 79, we moved to Tredegar, and for a number of years then, the following year, I started on the theological training course. Reverend Bruce Powell was the pastor of the church. I shared with him that I felt a burden for the work of gospel ministry. It had been with me for some years. I shared it with my own pastor, the late Jim Cannon in Abersachen, and then things really came to a head not that long before we moved to Tredegar. Bruce Powell was a great help. I ended up working part-time as a lawyer, and the rest of the time I was giving myself to theological study on the theological training course of the Evangelical Movement of Wales, also doing some door-to-door visitation work with the church, evangelistic work. We started a Sunday school on the Windegg estate, and then Bruce Powell would have me taking Bible studies every so often. During his holiday periods, he would have me to preach, particularly in the August period when he would be at the Aberystwyth conference and away on holiday. And that was of enormous benefit because it meant that I was able to preach for a number of weeks in a row, which gave one a better sense of what it would be like when one was in the ministry. Got to love the people in Castle Street very dearly. I was struck with what a warm people they were. Also, what a very well instructed people they were. Bruce Powell was a great teacher and really grounded the people of the church in the truths of the Bible, both through his Sunday ministry and through a midweek Bible study, but also through the Sunday afternoon adult Bible class. The church still had the practice, which had once been widespread throughout Wales, of a Sunday school with also an adult Sunday school class. And Bruce Powell conducted that as a discussion group and in the vestry, the minister's vestry behind the pulpit. He was of great help, and the people in the church, as I've said, were very, very warm, very well instructed. After I was ordained to the ministry in Castle Street in March of 1983, and Bruce Powell chaired that meeting. And then the following week I was inducted to a church in Mid Wales, and Bruce preached in the afternoon and the late Elwyn Davies in the evening. Now, Bruce maintained contact with us. The church maintained contact and made a very generous gift to us, I remember, a financial gift, because the church I was pastoring was a new church, and therefore it didn't have any substantial financial resources behind it. He also would come to visit periodically to see how things were going, and he was a true pastor in that sense. It was not a case of out of sight, out of mind. And then we're in Cyprus. Our link with Cyprus began in about 2002, I think, or 2003, thereabouts. By then, I was pastoring Free School Court Evangelical Church in Bridgend. Bruce was the chairman of the UK Council of MIRF, the Middle East Reformed Fellowship, which had and still has its headquarters in Larnaca in Cyprus. And he needed to come out to speak with the director, a man by the name of Victor Atala, who's still the director, an Egyptian who's done a huge work in the Middle East, in the Islamic countries. But he lives in a flat where there was no spare accommodation, and that meant that Bruce would stay in the excellent, superb conference centre for MIRF in Larnaca in Cyprus. But it's a very big building. He would have been there on his own. And he contacted my wife and me and asked, would we like to go with him? Otherwise, he would just be stuck on his own there. I think it was for a week or 10 days. That was the beginning of a link with Middle East Reformed Fellowship. And then subsequently, I went out and spoke at a number of conferences there, pastors' conferences, women's workers' conferences. And as a result, then we also had some holidays at the conference centre in Larnaca. And then later we so like Cyprus, we had holidays in Paphos. I had a sabbatical in 2000 part of a sabbatical in 2005. The last 6 weeks were spent at the MIRF headquarters in Larnaca. And then I had another sabbatical in 2016. And by then we'd had a number of holidays here in Paphos, and so we spent the sabbatical in the university at Paphos. And then in 2020 I retired, and we'd grown to love Cyprus, and we moved here in the October of that year, having retired in the end of August. None of that would have happened without having been part of Castle Street Church.
Well, I'm really sorry I can't be in the meeting today. I'm speaking at a conference in Luton, otherwise I'd have definitely been there. It's just a really short video to say how much Castle Street meant to me growing up. Castle Street and Zion, we did a lot together. Our youths were very close. We'd either come over to Tredegar, or you'd come to Bryn Mawr, and we'd all pile into Carl Venn's little attic. Then there was those autumn camps, which were a lot of fun. And we absolutely loved Mr. Powell. I mean, he was one of the legends growing up, and I think he was conference secretary and just somebody that we had so much love and respect for. So, yeah, sorry I'm missing it. And obviously, it hasn't all been great because my sister married David Baker, so, you know, it's not all happy memories, but on the whole, we love Castle Street. And I think the building, probably one of the best buildings in the whole of the valleys, isn't it? And kind of where it's situated, and the whole auditorium and the kind of facilities underneath. So it's a great, great church. We love it very much. And like I said, I'm sorry I can't be there today. But from what I've seen, there's so many people taking part that maybe by the time I come back from Luton, you'll still be going. I don't know. But anyway, have a great day. And like with all these churches, isn't it? You know, Zion, Bethel, Castle Street, Hebron, currently in the valleys of dry bones, but isn't the prayer that their best days are yet to come? Diolch yn fawr.
Hi there. I remember preaching as a student in 1995, and I enjoyed the fellowship with Tredegar then. And since 2019, we as a family have enjoyed fellowship with the church, and we've also made friends with you. And it's wonderful to celebrate the church's anniversary, and sorry we were unable to be with you, but may the Lord richly bless you and keep you as a fellowship. God bless.
And thank you all. Nice to get to know you. Have a lovely celebration, and it's a wonderful blessing from the Lord. Amen.
Amen.